Welcome to another edition of Around the Horn. I'm Brent Hubbs with Ben McKee of Volquest.com. Tennessee, been in a rare situation. We haven't talked about this all year long. First of all, they haven't lost much, but Tennessee loses tonight 8-6, and the word blown save has not come out of the mouth of anybody surrounding the Tennessee baseball team this season. Really strange to see that happen with Redmond Walsh, who's been just fantastic. Tennessee goes into the top of the ninth with a 5-4 lead, and they can't hold it. Walsh giving up, a double to tie the game up on a 1-2 count. I mean, everything he gave up in that inning was a 1-2 count after several foul offs on some of them, including the home run. Just couldn't find his out pitch tonight, Ben. It didn't look like.
No, and it's weird because Redmond was good the first half of his outing tonight. He comes in and pitches the eighth and the ninth inning, and in the eighth inning he sits Auburn down 1-2-3 and looked like normal Redmond Walsh. And then Auburn, I luck's maybe not the term I should use, but unlucky for Tennessee that Auburn just kind of bloops a single out there into the outfield to get things going, and then they're able to tie the game on that double that you mentioned, and then a runner gets on first, and then Sonny DeShera is coming up, statistically the best hitter in baseball. I think some people are mad about Tennessee deciding to intentionally walk him, but I thought it was the correct decision. I need to double check this when we get done doing this, but Bobby Pierce, the guy that hit the home run, I believe I saw he was 0 for 9 with 5 strikeouts before that home run. You're going to pitch to the guy who's 0 for 9 with 5 strikeouts than Sonny DeShera, the best statistical hitter in baseball, and a guy who already hit a 2-run shot on you earlier in the game. So that was the right decision, and it just didn't work out. That's baseball. But Redmond just that one pitch, and Bobby Pierce seemed to be on it because he had fouled several in a row off, and it just kind of felt like that was about to happen. I think you put it perfectly. Just within that particular bat, just could not find the put out pitch, and it turned out to bite Tennessee in the butt and was the difference in the game.
Yeah, and a reminder to everybody, including Tennessee, just you take nothing for granted. I mean, the assumption is you're going to slam the door right there, but every great closer in the game has had a blown save, and they've not taken advantage of an opportunity. Not the end of the world to lose a baseball game. Probably not the end of the world for Tennessee to lose one in this fashion. When you look at it, I don't think you want to sit around and start talking about good losses and learning experiences and all those things. But this team has, when they've been in that situation all year long, they've been able to close it out, and they couldn't tonight. And it's got to be a lesson learned for this baseball team. I'm sure that was the message post game, right?
Yeah, and I even asked Tony, like, "Hey, you're down by 3 in the bottom of the ninth inning, and your guys didn't cave. I mean, they didn't give up. They tried to come all the way back." Courtland Lawson leads off the bottom of the ninth with a solo home run. You're able to get some other runners on base. Jarrell Ortega hits a 1-out single, and you have Jordan Beck coming up representing the tying run. You have Drew Gilbert coming up representing the tying run. You can't ask for much more in the bottom of the ninth inning with the way the top half of the inning shaked out, Brent. But to your point that you brought up, I don't think that Tennessee is really going to learn lessons per se at this point in the year. If they lose, it's going to be because of bad baseball. And tonight, what led to the end of the game was a lot of walks by the pitching staff. Blake Tidwell did not look like himself. He came in with just 1 walk on the season, and I don't know what the final number was, but 4 or 5 walks from him in just 3 innings. He did not look like himself. Will Mabry comes in, an unfortunate situation for Will Mabry. He inherits a 1-0 count, but he still gives up a walk. And Camden Sewell pitched really well once again. Second half of the season, past couple of years, Camden Sewell just turns it up a notch, and he was terrific tonight. But you also had some defensive miscues where you could have made a cleaner play to help yourself, and you didn't. There were moments at the plate where you could have get down a bunt. So they played bad baseball at times, and that's what led to the loss. It's not because they weren't locked in or they didn't have the necessary energy. This team's not going to learn any lessons from that point. The only lessons they can learn are from a baseball perspective of, hey, we got to get the bunt down. Frank Anderson, I guarantee you, he's drilling in the pitcher's heads. Like, we got to throw more strikes. I mean, because ultimately that's what put them behind the 8 ball tonight. They were able to come back from it, and then ultimately it ended up biting them in the butt.
Yeah, you mentioned Camden Sewell, 4 in the third inning, did give up 2 walks, gave up 3 runs. but really made one bad pitch, I thought, on the home run ball. Other than that, I thought he was really good with the exception of the walks, as Frank Anderson always says. Walks. That's just a free hit for somebody, and it ended up costing Tennessee in that direction. But he gave Tennessee what they needed out of the bullpen on a night where Tidwell was not very good. The question now is, can Tennessee get the type of outing they need out of Drew Beam on Sunday? Because this is a pretty spent bullpen at this point. Sewell's done. I don't know that Walsh can come back after the amount of pitches he threw tonight. I would assume not. You haven't seen Ben Joyce yet, but they really need Drew Beam to go a long way tomorrow, right?
Yes, I think that's going to be key, especially when Tennessee's going to be facing the best Sunday starter that they've seen to this point in conference play. Joseph Gonzalez, the guy that's going to be going for Auburn tomorrow, he's one of the most underrated pitchers in the league. He's turned in 4 consecutive quality starts, which is 2 earned runs or less, in addition to pitching 6 innings, 4 straight wins in each of his last 4 starts. I think it's a 1.87 ERA during conference play, which is second best in the league. He's been phenomenal. I think he's the most underrated pitcher of the SEC this year, just because there's not a lot of buzz around his name outside of Auburn. And again, he's going to be the best Sunday guy that Tennessee has faced, and I would imagine he's going to pitch 5, 6, 7 innings. And if Drew Beam doesn't bounce back from his outing last weekend at Florida, and Drew was able to pitch into the 5th inning, he was really great in terms of battling through some early command issues, but he didn't look like the Drew Beam that we had seen up until that point of the season. So they're going to need him to regain that form and look like the guy that pitched 6, 7, 8 innings, at least get to a point to where Ben Joyce can come in. He'll be available. I would imagine Kirby Connell, he's going to be available. Mark McLaughlin, he can probably pitch. Will Mabry hasn't thrown a ton. Faced one batter tonight, 20 pitches Friday night. He's fresh, hasn't been efficient this weekend, so we'll see if Will Mabry can bounce back. So they've got a couple of guys down there, but it's going to be a real difficult situation if Gonzalez has it going on like he has, and Drew Beam doesn't have it going on. Going to put more pressure on the offense, more pressure on the bullpen, and when there's more pressure on you, some kids don't thrive in those situations. This team does, but you'd like to play baseball without a ton of pressure on yourself. Is the point that I'm getting at.
And this is a situation where Tennessee's not been in a Sunday game to win a series all year long. I mean, series have been locked up. I guess the Alabama game that they were
Yes.
trying to win the series there, but
Mm-hmm.
they haven't been in this situation very often. So
Nope.
we'll see how they handle that. And again, this team's experienced. Big picture, everything. There's no issue, big picture, but we'll see how this team responds to this tomorrow. They responded very well after their loss at home against Alabama, so we'll see what happens there. There were fireworks on that Saturday game after the loss to Alabama. There were fireworks late in this game tonight. Any big issue with that carrying over to tomorrow, or is that just SEC Saturday night baseball?
I think it's mostly SEC Saturday night baseball. The Bobby Pierce kid flips his bat. From what I've seen, I haven't seen a great replay, but of the bat flip that I saw, I didn't really have a problem with it. I think what happened is that it kind of took an unfortunate bounce or roll and rolled up against the Tennessee dugout. Again, I'd like to see a full clip of what actually happened, but I did see part of the bat flip, and it didn't look like anything out of the ordinary. But that led to some fireworks, and Tennessee was fired up after the game. I do find it interesting. Auburn has the mascot head, and they're quick to celebrate and put the head on, and nobody says a thing about it. But Tennessee does a daddy hat, does the fur coat, and they're just the worst people on the planet. So I do kind of find that interesting. But that celebration, which it's deserving, Auburn deserved to celebrate the way that they did. They just hit a 3-run bomb in the top of the 9th inning on the road at the number 1 team in the country that had only lost 3 games this season. So they have the right to celebrate the way that they did. And as Tennessee should, they're channeling that energy that they saw Auburn experiencing. And like you mentioned, Brent, there were some fireworks, some chirping back and forth between the two teams. Tennessee already plays pissed off. I think they'll play even more pissed off tomorrow because of what happened in the top of that 9th inning.
Yeah, certainly be the case. It was a bat flip that was more out than up. And as a
Yes.
result of the out, it ended up much closer to Tennessee's dugout than your typical bat flip is. But that's not the story moving in. The story is going to be, how does Tennessee bounce back after blowing a game in the ninth inning, which is something they've not done this season. So we'll find out how Tennessee handles that in the rubber game of this series against a good Auburn baseball team that, Ben, you mentioned, has played well on Sunday. So we'll find out how that goes tomorrow afternoon. We'll have full coverage for you at Volquest.com. That's going to do it for this edition of Around the Horn. He's Ben McKee. I'm Brent Hubbs. Have a great night, everybody.